Hi, I'm Mark Jardine and this is Sail for Gold Live at Cowes. It was another difficult day in Rio yesterday where we saw the Finns have their first two races on the Sugarloaf course and the wind was all over the place. Giles Scott had a tricky day, started off with a bad result, but in true gritty style came back with a third in the second race. It was difficult again for the Lasers and Laser Radials, and again they are a little bit not where they'd like to be, and the same with Bryony Shaw. But Nick Dempsey, still the standout performer, knocked in another couple of race wins, and then after an instant in race 6 got redress, and so he is sitting pretty at the top of the standings with the lay day now to come for him. I caught up with Andy Rice to ask him what it was like in Rio on the water yesterday.
Andy, it's been another topsy-turvy day in Rio. Can you tell me a bit about it?
Yeah, it was a little bit lighter today. The southeasterly breezes were mostly around 5 to 7 knots and only occasionally tipped into double figures. So it was pretty fluky, but actually not really that unexpected for this time of year. I think the sailors have been gearing themselves up for this. Having said that, the Sugarloaf Mountain racecourse, which is where the Finns started racing today, it's just a nasty course. There was one sailor that made sense of it, and that was Vasilis Spogar from Slovenia. He's a double Olympic medalist from the laser and the fin before, so he managed to find something out of it, but it was really dropping some of the big favourites fairly far down the rankings at times.
It does seem that the title of favourite, or even the people who are put down as medalists beforehand, are really struggling at this event.
You know, you're right. I hadn't even really thought about that, but when we look across the 5 classes that have got into racing, I guess with the exception of the laser radial, where the reigning Olympic champion from China, Zhu Lizhe, is leading there. In the other 4 divisions, I would say that's probably right. And that says an awful lot about what we're seeing going on. And I think the favourites, the people that are expected to win medals, are just keeping their fingers crossed that we get in a full series. And I asked Giles Scott this the other day. I said, provided you get a full series, will the right people have won the medals? And he said, yes, that's what he believes. So, it's incredible how the modern generation of Olympic sailors are prepared to put up with the kind of conditions that people would have absolutely rejected out of hand 20 years ago.
It does seem, though, Nick Dempsey is putting together a good series, just one bad result, but Dorian van Riesenberg sitting on his tail.
Yes, and he also has the benefit of a better discard, and I think, whilst the headline is that Nick Dempsey is in the lead, I think Dorian van Rieselberg will be extremely happy that, if I can remember rightly, I think his worst score is a 5th. So he's disqualified
exactly
5th, and Nick Dempsey scored a 14th in the last race. And Van Rieselberg had a pretty good last race, but even he was saying that the wind was dropping throughout the afternoon, and it was really hard to keep the board moving in the last race. He actually described it as almost unraceable. But that's someone who did well at the end of the day, and even he's saying that.
And over on the laser course, which was on the Ponty course today, a difficult day again for Nick Thompson and Alison Young.
Yeah, I stand there in the mixed zone, and I'm working for World Sailing here, so my focus is global, and I see them walk past, and I haven't yet had a reason to interview them yet, which feels a little bit odd as a British sailor. I'm having to put aside, my own hopes for what people might achieve here. It's tough watching the reigning world champions in their respective classes not even able to break into the top 10 at this stage. I haven't spoken to them, so I don't know what the mood is with the Brits, but this is not what we expected.
Well, looking forward, let's hope that you have more reason to speak to the Brits on the days coming up. Andy, once again, many thanks for your time.
Thanks, Mark. Look forward to speaking to you again soon.
I'm here with Nick Douglas of Adventures of a Sailor Girl. Now, Nick, usually there is a British-Australian rivalry at the Olympics, but this time it seems far more they're battling the elements rather than each other. How do you think it's going to pan out at these games?
I'm not sure. I think it's anyone's game. I had a quick squiz at the results this morning, and there's lots of mixed results from the laser to the laser radial. We'll have to see what happens, but I agree with you. The light, shifty conditions with the breeze coming off the land, it's going to make it tricky. And the Australian-British rivalry may not be so much as some of the local sailors. The Chinese are all going well in both the RSX and also the radial, so we'll have to see.
And in the lasers, Tom Burton seems, even though he's got some high scores, to just be getting close to the top. And Nick Thompson, even though he's a little bit down at the moment in the leaderboard, he's still in it. There are big results there.
You can't discount anyone at the moment. There are some big scorecards, but everyone's got big scores. As you say, Tom Burton has just managed to be a little bit consistent, and so he's in that 4th. Nick Thompson, I believe, is in 8th. But I think that he could bring it home, especially if they do get some breeze and it gets a bit more consistent.
And today, the Nacras and the 470 start, and there are some big names in those classes. It's looking like another light wind day, though. How are people going to manage themselves in these conditions?
I think in light air, all you can do really is manage the mind and manage the energy levels. I think a lot of people discount how much energy it takes when it is light air sailing. You're constantly on your toes, especially if there's postponements. Everybody knows how much that can take out of you, just always being ready to go. So if people can manage their minds, and I'm going to say here for the Aussies, I know that Jason Waterhouse and Lisa have been doing exceptionally well, and I'm sure that they'll be able to manage their minds, as will our 470 boys. So hopefully the British get in there too.
Well, same. I'm sure the Brits, it's all, as you say, it's going to be a lot about the mind game today.
Yes.
So I'm sure the Brits are going to have that taped as well.
We'll see. We'll take it on.
Many thanks for your time.
No
and
worries.
Let's see
Thank
how
you
it
for
pans out
having me.
today.
That's awesome.
I'm here with John Gimson and Kate McGregor. Now, today we've got the Nacras and also the 470s starting. John, what's it like sailing the Nacras out in Rio?
It really varies because it can be such a varied venue, from slow, tactical sailing to really quite full-on conditions. On the outside courses, you can get really big waves, and the boat's quite a handful in that.
And it looks like today they're on the Sugarloaf course, which is notorious for the shifts.
Yeah.
How do you handle it when you've got a race that you think is going great, then suddenly, wrong side of a shift?
You just have to stay calm and remember it's the same for everyone. I think over the week it will average out, but there are some pretty painful moments in Rio, and whichever team can deal with those moments and get back onto top form quickly will probably come out on top.
And Kate, with your experience of the games previously, how do you handle the psychological situation? What goes on in your mind during an event where results can be up and down?
Well, you just got to remember that at the end of the day, it is just another sailing race, which is easier said than done, I think. But like John said, you just got to take it as it comes of it, and each day is just gonna, just be calm, and especially out in Rio where the race courses are wacky. They're really wacky, and it's going to be the same for everyone. So if you can stay calm, focused, and recharge each day, it's going to be pretty important.
And our 470 teams, 3 of them of course took part in London 2012. Are they going to be able to draw on that experience?
Yeah, I would have thought so. I think going to a games is really key, and your first games is probably, as I've heard, is really scary. And I think everyone says it just gets easier. So having games experience definitely helps, I think.
And John, on the Nacras, who are the main competition?
Obviously the Brits, and then I'd say the Australians stand a pretty good chance of doing well, and also the French have dominated the last 4 years. Really, they've won all 4 World Championships.
And at the moment, we've seen in the lasers that names who are not usually at the top of the leaderboard are coming out in the front. Exactly the same with the Finns. Do you think over the course of the regatta things will start to even themselves out and the favourites will come closer to the top?
I think, look, people will have good days, and it's very early days in both those kind of regattas. And the guys who've done well now might not do so at the end. So I think give the end of the week and 10 races on the scoreboard.
Okay.
You should see the talent rise to the top.
Brilliant. John, Kate, many thanks for your time, and let's hope the Brits can put it together today in Rio. So the weather today in Rio is looking like another southerly wind. It's going to be very similar to yesterday, where there's going to be huge shifts and the sailors are going to have their eyes out of the boat and really hoping that they catch the right shifts. Many thanks for watching. Send us your questions via Facebook or Twitter using the hashtag #SailForGold. And please watch again tomorrow, same time, same place.